Uh-oh. Why didn't the intro play?
Damn producer.
That's why. Okay. Here comes the intro, guys. Welcome to episode 9 of Aces Up podcast. Joe Carlton here. I'm joined tonight by Dustin Ludke and Brian Hartman. We just learned that, or I just learned that Sunday night, since I did a prelude and then just played a video, I didn't start the show with the intro. I learned tonight that you have to go back in and put the intro in because it doesn't carry back over. So.
No, it does not.
So that's new to me. I apologize for that, but we got the video played and we introduced our guests. So how you guys doing tonight?
Doing good, man. I appreciate you having us on, and it's always a good time to talk some football and talk about some training camp news because there is quite the news. Today seemed like a big day for news, but we'll get on all the news and it's going to be fun.
We got live football in 2 days. Let's go.
Nice.
Yes, very much so.
All right, so Brian, this one thing I like to do. This is my favorite part about the show is I like to meet and learn all of the fantasy football analysts that I've never interacted with before. You happen to fall in that category, so tonight you get the personal and fantasy background interview. So
nice.
I love it. So why don't we start with, like where you're from, where you live, any hobbies you have outside of fantasy football. If you want to include family, you can too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm currently in Virginia Beach. Grew up here a little bit. Also grew up Navy brat. So bounced all over the country. Moving pretty often. So that was something I'm not really used to now that I've been here for like 6-ish years. Longest time I've ever lived somewhere, so it's definitely throwing me off a bit. But I mean, it's fantasy football. It's fantasy football. It's fantasy football. I've got a wife, couple dogs. They get a little bit of attention from time to time. But man, I love me some year-round fantasy football.
You're selling yourself short, Brian. You do have a very fun movie podcast as well.
I do forget to give that some credit. I feel like that's just my outlet, so I don't go crazy with all the fantasy talk. But yeah, I've got the football show's Too Much Fantasy Football, and then of course I got to keep on brand with the Too Much Movie Night, where we have a pretty good time over there. Dustin's actually going to be joining me here pretty soon for a draft over there.
It's going to get real heated real fast.
Oh yeah.
Nice. So when did you start playing fantasy football? How long has it been? When did you get into it?
So I had somebody ask me this recently. I kind of did the math. I guess this is the 20th year, the nice double decade anniversary for me. I've always been a math kid growing up. I love spreadsheets. I love numbers, stuff like that. And I was sitting in a music class where I couldn't be paying less attention in. And I was just sitting there ranking players just because I was bored out of my mind. And some kid looked over and handed one of those guides, the fantasy football, that just had stats and numbers. And I was just so mind blown that not only was fantasy football a thing, but then you could just geek out this hard over the numbers. So that's kind of what inspired me to dive into it.
I love that. Out of curiosity, did you collect baseball and football cards as well?
No, I wasn't a card
that's how. That's how I got into. I was used to look at the back and be like, 36 home runs, 123 RBIs, and for some reason it would stick with the play, and that's kind of how I. So I love that. I love geeking out over the numbers and the stats.
100%.
That's a great reason to get involved. Do you remember your first league at all?
I don't. I've always tried to remember, who was I drafting back then? But no, I got a lot of nights I don't remember in college, so I think it's kind of blurred. Some of the memories just started fading back a little bit. Yeah, it's a little woozy. I don't remember all of that, but I definitely remember just falling in love with it pretty instantaneously.
Nice. So right now, what kind of leagues do you play in? Do you do Dynasty? Do you do redraft? Do you do auction? Tell us what you play every year.
Redraft is my main love. Every now and then I'll find myself in an auction league. Dynasty, I've got a handful of them. I really hit it hard a handful of years ago going through COVID. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna get in like a dozen plus, but I've kind of pulled back since then just because I realized I get so obsessed with trying to make sure that I'm always active with trades, and then just sometimes you find yourself wasting time. So I've dialed back on that a bit, but best ball has really became a new passion just with no more wasting time with mock drafts. I can actually go in there and find out ADP and start diving into this a little bit earlier than you usually would with redraft.
Excellent. I'm a redraft guy myself. I just started Dynasty 3 years. I've been playing since 1997, but only 3 years Dynasty. And I just did my first auction draft 2 weeks ago, and it was terrible. I mean, the roster itself. Yeah, he goes, wow. That's how much of a redraft guy I am. No.
Auctions are tough. I feel like that's one of the most like unpredictable type of draft that you can get into.
I overpaid the heck out of Trey McBride, but my team isn't terrible. But I did learn a ton of stuff just first draft. I had one of my good friends and probably the best fantasy player I know, Billy Wasowski. I've had him on this show. He was in that draft, and I watched everything he did. Like towards the end of the draft, he had such a big of a max bet that he was able to charge people $3 and $4 that otherwise would have gone for $1 or $2. And I feel like he did that to chip away at
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, wow, he is really good at auctions too. What the hell? And I learned a lot just by observing him. That's kind of why I joined it, because he was in it, and I knew I held my own. I did all right. I don't hate my team. I think, I need a couple of guys to hit, but if they do, I'll be right there.
Hey, you're right there. You're right there.
So, I did well with the $14 and the $1 max bid that I had at the end left.
Nice.
Yeah. See, that was the biggest mistake I made. But so why don't you tell us about how you got involved in the fantasy industry and how it led you to doing content?
I mean, I've kind of always wanted to step into this. I've never been one to love being behind camera, but I went to school for sports broadcasting. I've had a few people tell me that they don't mind listening to the voice, so it was something I tried to pursue for a bit. But as I was coming out of college, radio was kind of on the downward slope, so took a safer job. But it's made. I mean, content creation's been so easy over the last several years, just with the tools that are readily accessible, the programming, the software, the prices on stuff like that. I mean, people are rocking USB microphones again, and they're just as high quality as the XLR ones, So that was kind of the nice thing. Me and my brother started a podcast. He fell off, started it back up with my other brother. He fell off, and then I bumped into Tyler Bradley over there at the Fantasy Football Advice Network, and he gave me a home and kind of been rocking it over there ever since.
Nice. So what do you got? You have anything coming up you want to talk about for the Fantasy Football Advice Network, or what you got going on?
Yeah, I've got a show over there, Too Much Fantasy Football, that we run over there. I've got a podcast that it runs simultaneously with, and then our own YouTube channel, Too Much Fantasy Football, as well. I do have a pretty cool project we're dropping next week, hopefully for the Expo. It's kind of be like a take on mock drafting that gives you being able to pick your actual mock draft via the YouTube video. So I'm pretty excited to get that rocking and rolling. Dustin threw out the project idea to me a few months ago, and it's daunting, but it should be pretty awesome when we get it up and rolling.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this project. So I saw this idea, 3 months ago, Brian?
Mm-hmm.
And I saw it and I was like, this seems really cool if someone could do it. And I was like, Brian could do this. So I called Brian. I was like, hey, I got this really cool idea. And I sent him a couple like sample videos. And he was like, oh, this is great. And then we started talking to it. And it just like ballooned from like, here's an idea to like, oh, here's this idea. But I think it's going to be really innovative, really cool way of doing mock drafts for people. Combining mock draft with live-ish analysis, which I think is going to be really fun. So I think it's a big undertaking. Brian did great, and I think this will be the first year. And if it goes well, he'll keep doing it, and maybe we'll get some other people involved. But I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a creative way of doing mock drafts.
Yeah,
nice. Why don't you tell us about your involvement in Scott Fishbowl and what it means to you to be part of it, all that stuff.
I mean, I do love me some Scott Fish. This will be my third year actually in the tournament. This was my first live draft. I went down to the Charlotte live draft this year to go start my team off. Honestly, I guess Scott Fish is kind of what put me out into the fantasy community, I guess, if you will. Just like I said, I started my pod by myself with my brother several years ago, but it was just kind of us just kicking it, getting through the routine, learning some stuff. And it wasn't until I saw an announcement for the Scott Fish Podathon saying, hey, we're looking for people to come on. I filled it out, and next thing I knew, I found myself on there a few weeks later. So now I've just finished up my third year in a row helping out, being a part of that. And it's nice knowing that, hey, something that we spend pointless and countless hours messing around with, that is fantasy football, find a way to give back. Maybe I feel a little less guilty that this is where all my time and energy is going when you're dumping it off a little bit. And just the entire team that they have there at Fantasy Cares, it's pretty impressive what they get done each and every year.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Fishbowl is a great tournament. This is my third or fourth year, and I think what I always tell people, like, I don't think I'm ever going to win. I don't really care to win, to be honest with you, but it's like the community aspect of it is huge because that's a big part of what I do. And then like the charity aspect is huge, right? It's not just the Toys for Tots, which is huge, but they're donating money to food banks and shelters and teachers and any sort of like, if there's a flood or whatever, they donate money to those things. Like Fantasy Cares as an org, as a charitable organization, does a lot. And just doesn't get talked about a ton. And I know everybody wants to be in the fishbowl. And right, Brian, like you, I've been on the Podathon the past 2-3 years. It's a ton of fun. It's a great community builder. Went to the Madison live draft this year. It's been great. It's just, I think what they do there is really important. And we're seeing more and more charity tournaments pop up because of it, which I think is great. People are throwing their hands into, Joe, we were talking about the Colton Derby, which, Ryan Kennedy put together for his son. And, I helped with the logo. And he thought he would just have one league. He has 2 leagues for his son, donating money to the Pittsburgh ear clinic or ear hospital.
I gotta get that in the description. I'm ashamed.
Yeah, it's children. It's a children's hospital that deals specifically with hearing loss in children. So Ryan's son deals with Colton. So he was like, "Hey, I'll do a charity tournament." And next thing you know, there's 2 leagues of it. So I think it's great. You got people. It's a way for kids to learn and play with their parents and bond. I think it's awesome.
Such a beautiful idea. I love how it's only an 8-team league, 14 round draft, so kids can learn the free agent process because there's going to be plenty on the waiver wire. Simplified starting lineup: 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. You don't have to worry about roster construction, all that much.
No, you don't have to worry about injuries. I had a league like that last year. Injuries don't kill you. Yeah, it's great.
You're learning the basics. Even, the next guy up, like you have like 3 or 4 recycles of the next guy up before it gets really difficult. So I love the concept. Both my kids are splitting a team. Cash is only 6 years old. My son Cash is 6. He's extremely intelligent individual, but I just don't think he understands the game of football yet. I'm trying to get him into the numbers, like you said, Brian, because he is a numbers freak, just like I was. He rattles off things, and I'm like, "Whoa, where'd you learn that?" And he's like, "I just know." And I'm like, "Okay." So, he's got it in him. If he can just take an interest into, the numbers, I think, he'll learn a lot just from that. So
for sure,
that's why I wanted to get him exposed. Great idea by Ryan. Shout out, Ryan. You're the man. Where we're at? Fantasy Football Expo. Do you attend, or have you ever attended?
I am. This will be, I think, year 4 for me going to the expo. So we're pretty excited again going there with the Advice Network. We I think sponsoring it again. I think we are sponsoring it again this year. So yeah, excited to get back there. It's a great time. The small talk that is there is sleepers, is draft prospects. It's like, I hate making like small talk. I hate it. Let's talk about the weather. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about, no, I just like, my focus doesn't sit there. So just knowing that anybody you bump into is there to talk fantasy football is just absolutely amazing.
Nice. I'm going for the first time. You got any advice for me? What things I should do and things I shouldn't do? We have a booth for TSA. We're at booth 32.
Oh, nice.
For Sunday, I'm in the Fans Classic. I'm in the Jim Kelly division, the Superflex. I believe it's full. at this point, so you can't, join me if you want. But I'm in that for draft night out. I'm also participating in the poker tournament.
Okay, fun.
For obvious reasons. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I'll
Dustin.
say for people, I'm not going this year, unfortunately. For sure, I'm missing after 2 years of going. I will say this. I know it's complicated.
When am I going to meet you? I'm going to have to go to the Chicago draft next year.
Yeah, Chicago or Madison. Yeah, I would say this. Like, don't just go up to people and say hi. Like, no one's going to blow you off. There might be a few people that'll blow you off, and that might big time you, but for the most part, people are really open. And you just never know who you're going to talk to. 2 years ago, I just went up and talked to a guy, and ended up being Joel Cox from CBS, who runs all of CBS Sports, right? And last year, I went up and just talked to a guy who was sitting on the bleachers by himself. And I was like, "Hey man, what's up?" I'm Dustin. He's like, "Hey, I'm Johnny. It's Johnny Main." And me and Johnny and Nick are real good friends now. Like, we just became real good friends from that. Just go up and say hi to people. Like, don't feel like, oh my gosh, that's so and so, whoever that may be. Just go over and say hi. They're generally really cool and really open to talking. Yeah. And if you feel a struggle, like, JC's there. JC will go and talk to anybody for you. Like, JC's a big connector for people. Same thing. Iggy's a big connector for people. I don't know if Iggy's going this year, but you've got people there with you. And just
Iggy is going. Yep.
And so, like, everyone, like, just go say hi. Like, just walk up to people, say, "Hey, I'm Joe. What's your name? Who are you?" Or even if you recognize, like, "Hey, so and so, I'm Joe." Like, and just it's so easy to just walk up to people. And I think there's a lot of intimidation factor that people have of like, oh, they're a celebrity in our world, and they're really not. Like, they're just people. They're just people.
We are so like-minded. It's sick, actually.
Yeah.
So, what is your favorite team, Ryan?
Indianapolis Colts are my team of choice.
Nice. All right. I don't hate it.
I grew up in Indianapolis a couple of years. I moved there a couple of years after Peyton was drafted, so I got to learn football and watch it through his glory days, and it was hard not to root for him.
I argue for Peyton all the time. People want to put Mahomes ahead of him. I don't put Mahomes ahead of Peyton Manning. Not for 1 second at all.
Greatest of all time right there.
Yeah. Tom Brady's the greatest. But.
Yes, exactly. Tom
Justin
Brady.
and I have been in this argument before. It didn't go
Ryan
too well.
hates Tom Brady for some odd reason.
Peyton Manning is very good. I had him and Randy Moss their rookie year. That was my first year in fantasy football.
Oh, nice.
I had him as I lost in the Super Bowl. I made it to the Super Bowl. And I used Peyton Manning towards the end because Steve Young started as the season went on. I think he got hurt and he stopped running,
Yeah.
All right. So any thoughts on give us a 2025 outlook for the Colts? Do they have any chance this year of making the playoffs?
Oh man, I don't want to. I don't want them to make the playoffs. The Colts have consistently been mediocre-ish, not good enough to get the best. I mean, granted, we got Anthony Richardson at the top 4 a few years ago, but I don't know. I think I'm ready for a clean. There we go. There's the love,
Mr. Rick. Wow.
There we go.
Rick.
We got somebody spitting some facts up here. I love it. But I'm very indifferent here as far as a fantasy fan. I kind of, I'd love Daniel Jones to play the majority of the season. I think we'll get the most outlet out of that. As a Colts fan rooting for the franchise, you have to hope that Anthony Richardson gets better. So, I don't know. Ballard's been there way too long, so I'm about ready for them to pull the trigger on that. So, I guess it all kind of depends on what happens with our coach, our GM. But we got talent. There's some talent. They're a decent team. Come on. You got a combination of Pittman, Alec Pierce, A.D. Mitchell, Josh Downs there. We've got Tyler Warren, JT. I'm not saying they're a great team, but they should be at least a top 18 offense.
2 really good running backs.
Yeah, exactly. DJ Giddens, give me that. I love that. Defense, hopefully they're bad. Lots of offense. Let's go, boys.
Does Dimes have a chance of being this year's Sam Darnold?
I don't know if he gets enough of the season.
Right, Anthony Richardson's going to be in there at some point. He has to be.
Yeah, so I mean, I bet they both. I imagine they're going to give us some good streaming games at some point in the season, but they're nobody to rely on.
Right. How do you? I know you don't play. You said you're a redraft guy, but I have some Anthony Richardson dynasty shares. How should I be feeling about those?
You got to hold. I've got 1 share. You just got to hold. At this point, you're selling them for peanuts. So there's a chance. There's a ceiling.
Yeah. At this point,
So-
you have to hold it because the outcome of what he could be is so high, but what he's valued at right now is so low. It's not worth getting rid of. Like you just don't gain anything by getting rid of him. Like, and then because if you get rid of him and he goes off, you feel like crap. If you keep him and he's crap, you're like, okay, I knew it was crap anyway. You're just not. You sell him and he's crap. It's like, well, I got crap for crap. So what's the difference?
Yeah, even if he's backing up somewhere in a year or two, he still might be worth playing when he gets that inevitable start from the guy in front of him going down.
Yeah, I mean, people are still excited about Joe Milton, so people are always going to be excited about Anthony Richardson as long as he's in the lead.
Yeah.
So I made a trade. You guys might like this trade. Last year to a contender. My team's rebuilding. To a contender after I knew I was out of the playoff race. This guy lost a quarterback. I'm trying to think of who he lost. But it's a super flex, so he needed another quarterback. I traded him Brock Purdy, Tony Pollard for Anthony Richardson, Michael Pittman, and a 2025 first round pick.
That's pretty good.
It's a lot of Colts.
Right? I think there might have been a third person on my pot, but I can't remember who. But it wasn't like anything significant.
Yeah.
I didn't let go of any foundation pieces or anything like that. It was when the Anthony Richardson stock started going like this. So I got that. I got that trade offer. I didn't make that offer. I got the trade offer, and I sent it to actually, God rest his soul, Anthony Servino.
Hmm.
And I said, "This is a smash accept, right? I want to make sure I'm not missing anything." And he was like, "Oh yeah, hit that accept, do it." And I was like, "That's what I thought." I'm looking at it like Pittman's got a back injury, Richardson's stock is down, but that first pick is just there looming too, like staring at me. I'm like, so I made the trade.
That's a good trade.
All right, so now that we got the Indianapolis Colts out of the way, let's move on to some camp news and some stuff that happened today. We know Xavier Worthy left with a head injury, but he did return to practice, so we think he avoided a concussion. I'm assuming he avoided a concussion, and they ought to be cautious with him because I just mentioned, a few days ago, actually, why I'm in on Rashee Rice so much, even with the suspension, is because I think Xavier Worthy gets more volume. He's going to get banged up at some point throughout the season. And I worry about his durability in an increased role. And we also heard that Hollywood Brown left with an injury. I don't know exactly the injury, but I believe it's more concerning than Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, they're saying it's an ankle injury for Hollywood Brown.
Okay.
And Sky Moore has a hamstring injury.
They all left. They all left with injuries.
Sky Moore is a hamstring injury, just
Right.
a walking hamstring injury.
I'm
Juju
surprised
Smith-Schuster
he's
leading
even
the way.
still there. Like, what does he
Yeah.
bring to the table? Is he on special teams? Like, I don't understand why he's even still there.
Dang, that's,
And
that's
we got
wild.
Isaiah Likely with an ankle injury to miss some time. So
Yeah, that's to me is the bigger news because they've already come out and said he's going to miss a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So that shows me like it's bad enough that they knew right away a couple weeks, and everyone was touting Isaiah Likely, and right a couple weeks still puts them in, maybe the last game of preseason, start for the regular season, but. Ankle injuries are not something to be messed with. Like that could linger. That could something he could, come back and tweak right away. Like if he tries to come back early, he could tweak that and be done. And that's not good news if you're betting on Isaiah Likely being a breakout star this year.
yeah, I'm not drafting him unless I have Mark Andrews and he falls. I have no intentions of picking him as a tight end. Otherwise, I mean, I just don't see him being consistent enough to plug in your lineup.
For sure.
So why waste a pick on him? I think he's a better free agent pickup if you're in tight end need, desperation needs, and Mark Andrews misses time. You bid up to get him, and he pays off. You plug him in, and that's when he pays off. But I mean, otherwise, I think he's just a roster clogger, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, him missing time. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because now, are we going to be tempted with Mark Andrews? I don't want to be. I don't
I
want to
know
draft him.
he's tough. I've been a Mark Andrews owner a couple of times, and he's aggravating to say the least. You have to plug him in when he plays, and just sometimes he's not part of the game plan, or he's injured, he's questionable throughout the league, then he's active, and you don't want to play your backup because if you do, he gets Mark Andrews goes for 685 and a touchdown, and you miss out on it. So you put him in, and then you're like, damn, I was right. He was in there to be a decoy and block today. And he gives you that stinker, and you're like, so he is tough to have as your tight end one. But he is the best cost he's ever been. I will say that. But with this news, probably bumps him up a little bit. So I'm probably not picking him in like drafts for the next couple of weeks. Because he's probably going to steam up at least a round. I know some guys that reach on him already. So, yeah. So why don't you guys give me 3 camp nuggets that you've got so far this year? It doesn't have to be the past couple of days. It could be since camp started. And we'll start with you, Brian. If you guys want to go one at a time, or you want to do all 3 at once, however you want to do it, that works for me.
I'll start it off. I guess it's this the unknown that's going on in the Jacksonville Jaguars backfield. I mean, sometimes I think I might actually be considering ETN. Then it's Bashaw Tootin, the rookie. Tank Bigsby's there just to be an enigma for us. So a lot of what I'm seeing coming out of there is like we're not getting full commits to Travis Etienne. So maybe that dart throw I thought that he's turning into there in that 8th, 9th round, maybe he's less and less of that. Of course, Bashaw Tootin is dealing with a hamstring injury, so of course him and his speed, that's something to monitor. If that's going to be something lingering, I'm completely going to be out on that. But it's just the unknown that you're going to be able to get late in the draft. You got to take a shot at least one of those guys, right? Worst case scenario, you're wrong. You're dropping them 2 weeks later. You're picking something else up off the waiver wire. So it's just the hype that we're getting over this backfield. Just what Liam Cohen can pull off over there.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm on the ETN side, and I think you can get him super late, and there's going to be one guy's going to get volume. I'm worried about Bashaw Tootin with this hamstring because that's not something you want to see. Like, especially rookies, they need time in camp to learn the system, get up to the NFL speed, and now he's going to miss some time with that. And those sort of injuries can linger and be something he tweaks, and especially with a rookie who's going to probably come back sooner than he probably should because he's going to tell them he feels good before he actually does, right? If it's a vet who might be like, one more day. Like, I don't need another day of camp, right? If you're a 4 or 5 year vet, you're gonna be like, I'll come back next week. Buster is like, I'm gonna go, and he might come back earlier and retweak it again. We've seen that before, where people come back with these soft tissues and tendons and muscles and do that kind of stuff. So I'm on the ETN side, but I think you're right, Brian. It's very reminiscent of the Dolphins a couple years ago. And it was like Mostert, Salvin Ahmed. You're like, I don't know. It's one of these guys. They'll just pick whoever's the last one left. I'll just take them at late in the draft and hope it works out. If not, I drop them.
Was it Gaskin? Was that the other guy?
It was Gaskin. Yeah, it was Mostert, Gaskin. Salvin Ahmed. It was like, one of those guys has got to be the guy.
All right. So I'm going to give you my take on this, and it's the same it's been since February. I never thought Tootin was going to be a year one impact from day one, even when I was evaluating him before landing spots. Tank is Tank. He had a chance to do something with it last year, and he just didn't fully break out. I'm on the ETN side as well. I'm getting a lot of 2022 Josh Jacobs vibes here with the year that Zamir White was drafted, and people were talking about Josh Jacobs didn't get his 5th-year option picked up. They didn't want to use him. We have to remember Travis Etienne is playing for a contract this year. Yeah. He is on a contract year. They're going to use the shit out of him, in my opinion. And we're all reading this wrong. We're missing out. We remember when we all let Josh Jacobs slip to the 8th round in that year, and he was the league winner. If you had Josh Jacobs and another running back and you smashed your 3 wide receivers, you won your league. Like, that's how, like, that particular year. So I'm taking shots on ETN. Not so much the other two backs. I can't say it would be probably less than 5% ownership in my best balls for the other two guys. Etienne's cost. He's at one point he was dipping into the back end of the 10th round, 11th round. So he's back up into the 8th, 9th round. But I love him at that price, so I'm in on him there. But,
yeah, I'll give you one that I'm looking forward to, and that's Thursday night. We are getting Trey Lance. Starting for now, do you know who Trey Lance is what team he's even on? Because
Chargers, baby.
I forgot he was even on the Chargers. He's going to play the first 3 quarters, they're saying, for the Chargers. I'm so excited to be done with Trey Lance after these 3 quarters when everyone just sees how bad he is and how it's over. It's been over for years, and I think this will be like the primetime showcase. It's over for Trey Lance, and we can just move on. People in Dynasty have been holding that bag for so long, and they want him to be good, and they're like, the draft capital and the draft cost. None of that matters. It never did, never will, never has mattered. Don't care about draft capital or draft cost. Trey Lance is done, and I'm excited that Thursday we'll finally put the final nail on the coffin because he's going to play 3 quarters with starters against starting defense and look probably pretty horrible.
Nice. Yeah. That's completely out of left field to me. I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't even know he was on the Chargers. So
most people don't.
But as far as Trey Lance goes, man, I just think initially I always thought the 49ers mishandled him, but you might be right, Dustin. They just knew that he is just ain't it. He's got no chance. He's
got no chance, right? So, at this point, it's just like his 4th team in 4 years that he's done. Like, just let's be done with them. If you're a dynasty owner and you're still holding him, you're sorry. You sunk.
I'm not just saying in Superflex leagues, he kind of still needs to be owned. Like you hold the backups in Superflex. Like sometimes you play them.
No. I don't think he's the backup this year. I don't think he makes.
Yeah, I think Heineke's too. That's why he's playing.
Well, and DJ Uluguli, or however you say his last name, is going to be the 4th-string guy who's going to play 4th quarter this week in the Hall of Fame game. Taylor Heineke was the backup last year. I don't see why they would move off of him unless Trey Lance comes out and performs. Trey Lance couldn't beat out Cooper Rush last year in Dallas, so...
Hey, Cooper Rush has done some stuff as a backup, He won a game or 2 in his day.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brian. You need to hold most of the backups, not all the backups. There's like bottom 5 to 7 backups that don't need to be held, and Trey Lance is one of them if he is the backup.
Nice. Zach Wilson or Trey Lance?
Zach Wilson.
He's down in Miami. That actually is a better bet, I'd say.
What a question. You got your next nugget, your next camp nugget, Brian?
Oh man, mine's got to be the Packers wide receivers here.
One day stop stealing mine, please.
Some of these big questions here, like one day we're getting, oh my gosh, we're not going to get Jaden Reed in 2 wide receiver sets. The next day we're getting reports of it. It's back and forth. I feel like we got this last year. Last preseason, we got word that, Jaden Reed's going to be playing in 2 wide receiver sets. And it didn't really turn out well. Not at all. And this whole talk about him getting more routes, running more routes this year, what does that actually amount to? How many targets does that amount? Say he's running half a dozen more routes. How many more targets? He's not getting a target per route run out there on that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to mitigate my expectations there on him a bit. He may outperform his ADP, finish somewhere in wide receiver 30 territory, but it's the consistency. We didn't get it last year. I don't really see a reason why we should get it this year when you're adding a 1st and 3rd round wide receiver to the mix. Potentially there's going to be healthy running backs. It looks like Izzy Abanikanda is looking like the guy that might be up next since Marshawn Lloyd continues to have issues. So, let's go Packers.
Yeah, I agree. I think I was just reading that Matthew Golden has looked good, and I think he's poised to be the one. I think they drafted him to be the one. Jaden Reed is probably out there. Christian Watson can't stay healthy. Romeo Doubs is good, but not great. So I'm all about it right now for the Packers.
Tucker Kraft after round 10 for a tight end. I love that
100%.
We'll get in some tight end talk a little later because I've got a spicy take on that one.
I will say this, though. Jaden Reed is one of very few guys you can get at that point in the draft who can drop a 30 bird.
Yeah.
So I will say that. And he's entering year 3. You would think that he can finally develop his game where they can move him around the formations and you give him more snaps, manufacture touches for him. I also think last year that Jordan Love's injuries factored into how much they ran the ball. And I know LaFleur likes to run the ball, but I do see a healthy Jordan Love gaining momentum like he did in his rookie year towards the end of that season could elevate Jaden Reed.
Yeah, only 35% of his games last year were double digits. So
right.
That's my biggest fear.
Yeah, it's the inconsistency. I get it. Dustin, any other camp nugget?
Yeah, I want to talk about this so-called demise of the Lions that everyone keeps spouting off, how they're going to be so horrible this year. Can we just stop this nonsense? I get it. Frank Ragnow retired, but they moved Graham Glasgow over to center. He's looked like camp reports come out. He looks really good. They lost Ben Johnson, yes, but they hired John Morton, who has worked for some great coaches. If you look at who he's worked for, Todd Bowles, Bill Callahan, Dan Campbell, John Gruden, Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, and Norv Turner. Like, those are some great coaches he's learned and being senior offensive assistant, passing game coordinator, wide receiver coach. Whereas Ben Johnson worked for Dan Campbell, Adam Gase, Matt Patricia, Joe Philbin. Like, I get it, Ben Johnson was creative, but I don't think John Morton is like a dud. Like, I don't think he's just like some generic guy. Like, people keep saying, "Oh, this offense is gonna falter." I don't think it is. I think it's just as good as offense has always been. I think we're getting Lions players at values because everyone's just going, Ben Johnson's gone, the sky is falling. Stop that nonsense right now. Just stop. Just stop being stupid. Stop buying into these narratives and look at what's actually there. Like, the decrease from Ben Johnson to John Morton is not like from here to here. It's maybe here to here. It's not going to be this huge decrease. I actually think it might be an increase because they might not be trying all these wacky plays that don't convert. They might just be more of a vanilla offense that just clicks more. Vanilla might just be better than right. Like, pistachio ice cream is great for some people, and like sometimes it's good, but not all the time. Vanilla is good all the time.
Let me ask you this: vanilla, if they do go that vanilla way, who does it benefit, and who's the shit end of the stick?
I think it definitely benefits Gibbs and Montgomery and Amon-Ra St. Brown. This whole Jameson Williams, a breakout. Did he break out last year? Is he a breakout? He's going to be fine. I don't think he's like a top 24 wide receiver. I still think he's that top 36 wide receiver he was last year. Sam Laporta is the interesting one because I think that'll be the weird cutoff for me. Is Sam Laporta good? I'm a little more bullish on Sam Laporta than some people. Again, we'll talk about tight ends later because I have a pretty spicy take. I think Sam Laporta is going to be fine. He's not going to be what he was his rookie year, but I think he'll be what he was last year.
He should be due for a little bit more volume than he got last year. I would say, yeah. If it goes vanilla, for sure. Because vanilla means you're using the tight end, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I definitely don't have the Lions projected as high this year. Like, I have them reducing what they did last year. I mean, they were first in points and first in plays per game last year with nobody on the defense.
Yeah.
So if you see a little bit of, like, that defense is going to play better this year, I think that's going to, the offense isn't going to have to go out there and go win games. So I think that alone takes them out of that realm of being, top 5 in most of these metrics to closer to something like top 12. So I still think it's going to be a productive offense. It's going to work well. There's a lot of good pieces. They've built this team well, but I just don't like how all of these pieces are being drafted as high as they are. Jameson Williams, I think I've got him a little below ADP. Sam Laporta, I've got him several spots behind ADP. Gibbs, I've got him, I think, closer to 7 than I do 3. So just I still think this teams are going to perform well, just not at the line that we saw in previous seasons.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Jameer Gibbs is going to be RB1 like he was basically last year. Right? He's not going to get
a Monty injury. Yeah,
he gives you a really good consistent floor.
250 carries last year for Gibbs. Is he going to get that? No, he'll probably get 225, 200. It's not going to be like, but everybody's going to like everybody just makes it seem like they're going to get like 175. Like he's not going to drop that much. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 141 targets last year. He was wide receiver 3. The year before he had 164 was wide receiver 3. Do I think he comes down, maybe scores 10 touchdowns like he did in 2023, but he's still going to be in that wide receiver 2 to 5 range. He's not going to also be wide receiver 7. It's just not going to be. No, Brian, stop it. You're ridiculous.
I'm off of Amon-Ra this year, so I mean, it's nice to hear the other side once in a while because then it makes me, take another look at it. But the concern with Amon-Ra for me is they drafted Isaac Tesla, however you want to pronounce it. Look, no, I'm not saying that he's going to dip into the volume, okay? But
me and Brian have had this conversation multiple times.
He's a Tim Patrick replacement. What did Tim Patrick do really well? Score touchdowns. What could Sam Laporta do really well? Scores touchdowns. What does Amon-Ra not do the greatest? I don't. He did have more touchdowns than usual last year, but I just don't see him duplicating his touchdown performance. And I'm also concerned about his durability, as I've always been.
Yeah, for me, T-Slot, it does eat into Tim Patrick and Jameson Williams. I don't think he eats into Amon-Ra St. Brown. I still think Amon-Ra St. Brown is locked in for 130-plus targets. And I think Jameson Williams, who had 91 targets in 15 games, I think will probably see that over 17 games if he plays all 17 games, which is still an iffy question with Jameson Williams.
Nice. One more camp nugget from Brian.
I mean, this one we're setting sail. We're hitting the 7 Seas. We're joining our fellow pirate, Najee Harris. Look, man, all we're getting is skepticism. We're getting not exactly the most hype on a guy. And I was kind of not in on Najee, but I was expecting him to be a decent part of this offense. But whoo-wee, you're telling me he doesn't end up playing this year? How high is too high for Omari Hampton? I think that's when we get to have these conversations. Is he going to be up in that Genty level if there is not a competent backup behind him? Because obviously they'll end up pulling somebody from free agency or something, but it won't be to the effect that Najee Harris is. So now that he's getting all these reps, we're chugging along here. We're ready for just full steam, throwing all that coal in the. That's how trains go, right? Coal.
For the most part, yeah, old ones. Yeah.
Yeah, give me some Najee action or some Omari Hampton action. I'm excited to see what happens despite the injury.
Yeah, the fact that we haven't really seen anything and Najee is like in big sunglasses and a hoodie, like it's fishy. There's something there that's just fishy. How bad is it really?
Where's the poop?
Yeah,
where's the poop?
Where's the poop? Yeah, there's something. Yeah, there's poop somewhere, and I just don't know where. I don't know if it's this eye injury is cover for something else. If the eye injury is really bad, if it's just they're just like, we don't need Najee to do practice. I don't know. It's just there's something, and we're not getting all of it.
And what did he do? You can't tell me there was a 4th of July party without cameras being rolling. Did he stick his head over the tube? Did it not blow up and he was waiting? Was it a delayed shot? Was this guy putting sparklers in his mouth, seeing how many can fit? I want to know what went down.
Was he double dead? Yeah, what happened?
Exactly. Shooting Roman candles out there like a cigar. What happened here, man?
Yeah, there's got to be something somewhere. The fact that we've gotten nothing other than it was like injured in an accident, there's got to be more. When we have like every detail of everything that happens everywhere else, we just know he was injured in a firework accident. And that's all we got. Come on, where's Adam Schefter paying for the medical reports? I mean, where's that guy at?
Mm-hmm.
My last one is also a running back take. I don't know what to do with the Houston running backs at this point. I mean, Joe Mixon's got this injury that's lingering. Nick Chubb is healthy-ish.
Those statements from D'Amico Ryans did not exactly sound encouraging.
No,
it sounds like
he's
as healthy as he can be for what he's gone through in his age. So I'm like, that doesn't scream excitement to me.
Yeah, but then he came out and said, he's done everything we've asked him to do. I'm not a huge believer in Woody Marks, but if Woody Marks is the only guy left, is it like Dameon Pierce from a couple years ago? It's like, hey, he's the only guy there, so let's roll him out there.
Hey, this scheme lines up for Dameon Pierce. So what if we get a resurgence here and he could?
I don't know what to do because it is Mixon's job if Mixon's healthy, but when will Mixon be back? I don't know. It's just a mess, and I kind of want to stay away from it. I'm kind of off on the Texans as a whole this year. I'm out.
Line too.
I'm out. I'm out on CJ Stroud. I'm out on Nico Collins. I'm out on all of them.
My take on this is I think they should make a play to get Devin Singletary back because when they had Singletary, they had excellent pass protection. I know that's why they went out and got Chubb because Chubb is good at pass protection. When C.J. Stroud had Singletary back there, it was like an extra set of eyes for him. When Josh Allen had Singletary back there, when Josh Allen was a youngster, still making stupid mistakes that he still does occasionally now, he had Singletary as a pass-protected running back, extra set of eyes in the backfield. And Singletary had some games there. They weren't nothing spectacular, but he had some 100-yard rushing games in Houston that year. They need somebody that can do both. If Nick Chubb isn't, are we going to get some Woody Mox? How long is Woody Mox? Woody Mox has a lot of question marks in his game. He flashes for sure, and he can do some things, but can you rely on him as a workhorse running back? I don't think so. So
yeah, then like we still got like Dara Goombawali, who's had like spot games where it's like all of a sudden he's like a thing, and it's like if you look on like any roster page they've got, I'm looking at sleeper, they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They got like 9 guys on the sleeper like page on their running backs. It's Mixon, Chubb, Dameon Pierce, Woody Marks, Taylor Goombawali, J.J. Taylor, Jacob Johnson, Jawar Jordan, British Brooks. Like it seems like they're just like going with volume to like hope one of these guys has got to be healthy. Let's hope it works.
It's a shotgun approach. My buddy had that when he went to go, meet girls in college. He just you talk to them all, and eventually one will say hi back.
That's why we're gonna get these weird Dara Goombawali weeks where it's just gonna be like Dara Goombawali has 10 carries for 70 yards and a touchdown. You're like, oh, is he fantasy relevant? No. I mean, last year, week 5, Dara Goombawali, 15 carries, 30 yards, 7 receptions for 57 yards. It was like, oh, he scored 14 fantasy points. Like, that's not horrible. But, like, no one's going to start him the next week. He had 1.8 fantasy points. It's like, you just can't count on it. It's just gross. It's just gross across the board. Until we know that Mixon's fully healthy and fully back, I'm kind of out, and I'm kind of out regardless. It's a foot injury, and after Christian McCaffrey with the Achilles tendonitis, I'm kind of out on any foot injury type players where it's like when they just say foot, that worries me. It's not a toe, it's not an ankle, it's just like a foot. Like, what does that mean? Like, where? Like, again, where's the poop? Like, what is it we're missing? Like, what? The foot's not a big part of the body, but it's a complicated part of the body. That could be anything. That could be lingering issues. It could be plantar fasciitis, which never goes away. It could be Achilles tendonitis, which Christian McCaffrey never got over all year. I just don't know, and I don't want any part of it right now.
He can go the pirate route, the Najee route, and just get a peg leg.
Yeah, we should all have peg legs. Yeah, get Jason Pierre-Paul with a hook hand. Yeah, we just have them all. Just whole pirate team.
I mean, he did play for the Buccaneers, so that worked out.
Yeah, Bucks should just get them all. Yeah.
I'm just going to throw one note out there for training camp stuff, but I think it's going to involve Javonte Williams. Look, I'm not saying target him in your drafts, but I think he is going to surprise at the end of the year. When we look back at his stats, it's going to surprise. Jaden Blue, I was never big on. He landed in a good spot, but we're not getting any positive news out of him. They got Miles Sanders, so this makes me way in on George Pickens, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, even Jake Ferguson to a degree. If you're punting on tight end, I like taking Ferguson but pair him up with an upside tight end. Don't back him up with like Pat Fryermuth or somebody stupid like that. And if you take Javonte Williams, like make sure you it's a backup. If you're in a deep league like a 14 or a 16 team league, and you really want to execute hero running back, Javonte Williams is a good target for your RB2 and a hero.
Yeah, Javonte Williams is the type of running back I'm drafting if I'm drafting Christian McCaffrey. Like if I said to someone the other day, like if I'm drafting Christian McCaffrey, I want to have extra depth at running back, and Javonte Williams is the type of player I want because like Christian McCaffrey, he's there, he's the number 1 running back, and he's healthy, and you like just need someone to be okay. But then if like Christian McCaffrey's hurt and you have like 2 or 3 okay guys, you can platoon, then you're fine.
Yeah,
like, that's
the Jordan
the type of
Masons,
I want.
Javonte Williams, the Travis Etiennes.
Yeah, you want those sort of plays, yeah.
Austin Eckler.
Nice. All right, so we're going to get into a little bit of dynasty talk now. First question I want to ask is your approach to trading. Any advice you give somebody new to dynasties, making successful trades, building relationships with your teammates, and any info like that you can give us? We'll start with you, Brian.
As far as trading, I'd say don't, if you're new to it, don't accept the first trade that comes across the board, because even if it looks good to you, it's probably some dynamic or, some part of it that you don't fully understand. I definitely learned that pretty quickly. My first startup draft, I saw a few people trade up. I was like, oh, I want to do that. And I did that. And then I started looking. I was like, well, now that I see the full use of it.
What did you trade up for? Yeah, I just traded. Just traded up to trade up. No?
I kind of did. I traded up several spots before I was even going to be on the clock, and I kind of realized I was like, oh, I would have had more leverage had I waited a couple more picks. So just take your time a little bit, slow down. There's definitely times of the years to make certain trades. The closer to the actual rookie draft, the more valuable your picks are. So always keep that in mind, and know when your team's good or bad. Because if you start selling future assets and all of a sudden you realize, oh wow, I am in complete rebuild even if I don't want to be, then your best assets are probably going out the window to somebody else.
Yeah. I'll say this. If you're listening right now, go take your 4th round or your 5th round, whatever your last round of your rookie pick is next year, go make a trade with that pick right now. Break the ice. Go make an insignificant trade. Because the problem is that everyone wants to do huge monster trades for the monster players, and everyone's gun shy. You need to build that reputation. So go make a pick for your 4th round. Go trade your 4th round pick for a scrub. Just do it. Because what you're going to happen is you're going to build rapport with that other manager because you've broken the ice. The problem is you can't just go in cold and never do a deal with someone and be like, hey, now I want to make a trade for Bijan Robinson, and we're going to trade these monster pieces, because everyone's going to be a little skittish of that. So go break the ice right now with a 4th round pick. Go get a guy who's, I don't even know who go get a Jordan Mason.
Yeah.
Right. Go make the pick. Go make a pick of a guy that you're just going to end up dropping anyway, just because it's worth breaking the ice. It's worth spending your 4th round pick to break the ice, so then you can facilitate a trade down the road.
Yeah, go
anybody who trades Jordan Mason for a 4th round pick is a little. I want to play with those people, but I get I get the sentiment there, Dustin.
Yeah.
You built so you want to. My good take is sometimes it's okay to lose a trade if you're getting the best player in the trade. That's one of my things. Last year I traded Ramondre and a 3rd rounder for Chase Brown in a 2nd round. And I did this during the offseason before the NFL draft even happened. When people were worried about Chase Brown. And at that point, when I speaking of, we'll talk about trade calculators in a minute. When I inputted that into the trade calculator, it told me I was losing that trade. So, and I thought Chase Brown was the best player in the trade, even though Ramondre had more value at that point than Chase Brown did. Ramondre was still being drafted as an RB2. Chase Brown was being drafted as basically a handcuff at that point. So, sometimes when it's okay to lose a trade if you believe you're getting the best player in the deal. That's just my one piece of advice on trades.
Yeah.
And so trade calculators. Dustin? What are your thoughts on trade calculators? How do you use them?
I use them sparingly. I'm a big believer in what Alex Peaked in High School does with his aggregate trade calculator, which basically takes all the values from all the popular trade calculators, put them into one to kind of give you a consensus value. I think they're a great starting point. I don't think they need to be the rule. And I also don't think you should just look at one, because every trade calculator has its own biases. Keep Trade Cut is very... it's just because it's just kind of wonky. DynastyTradeCalculator.com is very rookie heavy, so they all have their own biases on what they're going to value a little more than others. I think Keep Trade Cut's more on picks because people want to keep the pick values up. So if you do it, I go pick top 3, go to 3 or 4 of them. I prefer Alex Peak in High School, and I'll use that as my kind of one if I'm just going to use one. But use it as a guideline and realize that just because the numbers equal out doesn't mean it's equal. So when I've talked to Alex in the past, basically if it's a 2-for-1 trade, you got to pay 10% more. So if you're doing the 2, let's say I'm trading, I can't just trade 2 50s for 100. I have to trade two 60s for 100 because I have to pay 10% more. And if it's a 3-for-1, I have to pay almost like 15% more. And if it's a 4-for-1, I have to pay like 20% more. So you just have to pay more if you're doing those package deals. So I think they're a great starting point and they're great guardrails, but they're not necessarily dictating how you should trade.
Yeah, I'll definitely use them to, like, there's a couple that I use just to kind of gauge to make sure that, like, relative prices, maybe not exactly what the price is, but just one player's price relative to another, or kind of where I'm looking at that, or draft picks, like I was kind of talking about, their price changes quite a bit throughout the year. So like, all right, it's it's January. Where do I need to be looking as far as like selling my future picks? The biggest thing I do is I like finding out if the guy I'm trying to, or the person I'm trying to trade with, what calculator they use. Because maybe I won't be able to exactly get the deal done that I wanted to initially, but I'm like, oh, this person uses Dynasty Nerds. I know where they sit high and where they sit low on this calculator, so I'm going to go see if I can make a trade and kind of take advantage of where I see value versus where they do. Or, oh, this person's harping on keep trade cut. Let me slide over there real quick and kind of see where I see a difference between the values there, and I'm going to go and sneak somebody from them.
Yeah.
Excellent advice. Never even thought to do that. So that's great. That's a sneaky little trick. Little trick. I like it. Yeah. All right. So let's get into dynasty buys right now. Currently, Dustin, give us two.
I'm buying Chuba Hubbard, running back for the Carolina Panthers. He's going to be 20. He's under contract till the 2029 season. That's when he's a free agent. So after 2028. With a very minimal cap. I think it's like under 10 million every year. I think until 2028. I think it's at like 10 million with a $3 million dead cap. He's 26 right now. He's got no competition in that backfield. They brought in Rico Dowdle to back him up. Jonathan Brooks is done. Like he's got no knees left. I like him. I'm buying him right now. And then I'm buying Jalen Milroe, the quarterback for Seattle Seahawks. I think Sam Darnold is hot trash. I think last year was a fluke. Listen, once is a fluke, twice is a trend, 3 times is a pattern. We have 6-year pattern of Sam Darnold being subpar. And then we have this 1-year fluke with Minnesota where he had the perfect situation of coaching, offensive line, and weapons. He now doesn't have that in Seattle, and he can't run. They have one of those. Seattle might have. Now, Houston has a bad offensive line. Seattle might be right there with them with one of the worst offensive lines. Slight downgrade in weapons. I love JSN. I love Cooper Kupp, but I don't think they can bail out Sam Darnold like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkins are good. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a switch. They have a week 8 bye, so I think Jalen Milroe will take over at some point. And with a bad offensive line, Jalen Milroe can run. He's got a huge rushing upside, so I'm buying him everywhere I can right now.
Love the dynasty. I love that dynasty take. Actually, I'm kind of it. What happens if Seattle finds themselves still in the playoff hunt though after their bye week? You don't think that there's no chance of this? You think there's any? That division is that division. You know what I mean?
I mean, that division is going to come down to all 4 of them at the end of the season anyway. But I think they're just going to go, man, we're just not. I think there's going to be enough of Sam Darnold where they're going, man, this just isn't working. There's going to be enough.
They probably should go the other direction, right?
Yeah, it's just going to be one of those things where it's just going to be, oh man, this is just we're in it, but only because our whole division kind of is meh right now.
Players, I guess I'm gonna group a handful of players in my first one. I'm gonna throw out. Dustin said, "Go get trades rolling. Go get it going with a 3rd or 4th round." I'm gonna go do that with some late tight ends. I'm gonna go shoot my shot at Kyle Pitts. Go see if that owner's had them the entire time and if they're frustrated, ready to get out. He's 24 years old. He came into the league incredibly young. We usually don't see these guys breaking out till the end of their contract, around the year 24, 25 age. Evan Ingram, outside of his rookie season, he was hot garbage until he got to that contract year. David Njoku didn't break it out until they started, got to the point where he was being re-signed. So it's not out of the ordinary, and if you can get him cheap, I'm all for it. Guys like Brenton Strange, I'm going to buy. Chig Okonkwo, I'm kicking the tires on. Harold Fannin, Jatavian Sanders, Ben Sennett. These are all players that if I can get them for a 3rd and something, a 3rd and 4th, some sort of combination below a 2nd round pick, or getting rid of a depth wide receiver that I really don't need, I'm all for it. Because these players, especially now that tight end premium is becoming more and more prevalent, I want to take shots here. And that's usually how I get these players that rise up the ranks.
Yeah, that's a great way of starting the trade rolling, right? You can go out and get a Chigakonkwo. I mean, I wouldn't do Kyle Pitts because I think he's hot trash and will always be hot trash.
I love the Kyle. No, Kyle Pitts is still, the door's still open for him. If I started with him and I still have him, I'm not selling him for a third.
I never would have had him, never will have him. He's trash. Him, Dalton Kincaid, it's trash. But I like that sentiment, like getting those guys, like you can get them cheap, and it starts the ball rolling for trades. Right? You can go get a Chigakonkwo who's going to be serviceable. You can go get maybe a Brenton Strange who people might be down on with, Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter being there, that he's going to see less targets, filling in the Evan Ingram role. I love that, Brian. I think go get some of these young tight ends. I think you got to be smart about which tight ends, not Kyle Pitts or Kincaid, but I think there's room there to get some tight ends.
Shots fired.
All right, Brian, who are we looking to sell in Dynasty right now?
Oh, looking to sell. I mean, I think Garrett Wilson might be one I'm willing to sell right now. He just got the contract. This might be the highest his value is going to be for, I'm looking at another 2, maybe 3 years, because Justin Fields is not the answer. Even if Garrett Wilson does well this year, Justin Fields, I would be willing to bet almost anything that he won't be the starter next year. They're going to go into next year with a different quarterback. Or if not, they'll have Justin Fields and somebody to kind of step in. Right now, it's Tyrod Taylor behind him, so I think it's Fields all year. But say they get a rookie behind Justin Fields next year. Well, that rookie's not going to be great next year. We know how rookie quarterbacks traditionally can't support somebody. So that means we're looking at maybe another 2 years before we get somebody serviceable to guide him through his peak years. I think that's a gamble I'd be okay with moving away from, because a lot of people I think are willing to bet on that. As soon as that contract hits, somebody's like, I'm all in. He's locked into that team for this many years. I'm all for it. So I think as much as he is talented, and I've got several pieces of him in Dynasty, I'm trying to now poke and see where I can get some really good value for him.
Yeah, I don't hate that, because I think Garrett Wilson is considered a top 10, five wide receiver with a good quarterback. I think Justin Fields is better than you're making him out to be. But again, is Justin Fields going to be the answer long term? This is his prove it year. You're right. If he's not, and there's a 50-50 chance that he's not, they have to go get someone, and that just spells disaster for Justin Fields or for Garrett Wilson down the road, because let's face it, the Jets haven't been great about choosing their quarterbacks in general. So if they go and draft a guy, I'm assuming he's going to be a bust, because that's just the history of the Jets.
Right.
So that means Garrett Wilson's going to have crap quarterback after crap quarterback, and we're just going to be stuck with, this guy, on a good receiver on a bad team that just kind of does okay.
Even worse, Justin Fields could get hurt, and they could do a Jets stupid move and trade for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
And we all know that that's not the answer either as well. So, so I'm kind of thinking that with all the hype he's getting right now, and the fact that I just don't think that he'll ever be a RB1, I feel like Cam Scatterboo might be a time to move him. But sometime between now and when he flashes this year.
Yeah.
He seems like a good player to move. Just the Giants, similar situation as the Jets. It's going to be a couple of years before they're really all the way clicking. I mean, unless Jackson Dart gets an early opportunity and he takes off with it, which I don't see happening. I happen to think Russell Wilson is still a decent NFL quarterback, and he'll hold that job down as long as he's healthy. And the Giants, maybe if the Giants are at the point where they're like 1-12, they might throw Dart in for a couple of games. But at that point, you're only going to get a couple of games. You're not going to get like a true evaluation of exactly how he's going to be. So the Giants' offense is probably a couple of years away from peaking. So, I'm in on selling the Scatterboo hype right now. And don't get me wrong, I love him. I love him for redraft this year. I love targeting him in 0 RB builds and, the RB2 spot in a hero build. But as far as Dynasty goes, if I'm a Scatterboo owner, I'm looking to sell him.
Cam Scatterboo seems like the new version of David Montgomery, where you're like, oh, he's so talented, and then he just is always like in that 15 to 24 range in fantasy running backs, and you're like, he's so potential to be running back 1, and then he's always in this like he's the thunder of the thunder and lightning. It's like cool. That's not. It's just it's okay. It's good. It's just never going to be great. And I think you can get great prices for him, especially if he has 1 or 2 good games.
All right. Dynasty startup drafts. Dustin, give me 2 players that you like at ADP for Dynasty startups.
That I'm in on Michael Penix. I have said it from the get-go. Michael Penix is the best quarterback from that draft class. And he will be. And 10 years from now, he will be the best quarterback from that draft class. I'm all in on him. He's being drafted super late. I'm all about it. And I'm all in on Kyron Williams as well. I think we keep saying, it's Blake Corum's going to take his job. And now it's Jarquez Hunter's going to take his job. No one's taking, it just hasn't happened. It's Kyron's job. I'm all in on both of them. I think you can get them at super great values compared to where they're going. I think Kyron's going in the QB, between 5 and 10 range. And he, I think, is a top 5 guy every year. And I think Michael Penix is a top, I think he's going in the 20s, mid to late 20s. And I think he's a easy QB 12 to 15 range guy.
Nice. Brian, yeah, too.
So I'm kind of, not many times have I gotten into a startup where I've actually gone to compete. Usually I'm one to punt that first season and build towards the second year and beyond. Completely go for that 101 the following season. So I usually just end up drafting, the quarterback value that falls, the wide receivers, the tight ends, usually in the premium. And I leave running back to figure out for that next offseason. So I'm usually looking to see which wide receivers fall. I love an A.J. Brown tumble right now, going as wide receiver, 14-ish, somewhere in there. I do love that, going to pick up maybe like a Jalen Waddle who's down there significantly. And as you get deeper into those middle to late rounds, you're still getting some of these, the Matthew Goldens, the Ricky Pearsalls, the Jaden Higgins, the Trey Harris. You're getting so many of these guys so late in drafts and in startups. I'm just going to pick up most of them. Not all of them are going to hit, of course not, but you're probably going to retain value in most of those players. So I'm all about getting those young wide receivers there early.
Yeah, you're getting them at low, before their value starts to go.
That balloon, yeah.
I like that. So that's pretty much it, man. I think we're going to wrap it up.
I want to give you I got one dynasty sell that I think is a pretty hot take, and I kind of hinted at tight ends.
Do we not go through all the sells? Did I miss one?
No, I got one sell for you guys, and that's Trey McBride. I think you should be selling Trey McBride right now. He is currently being drafted as tight end 2. Here's the deal. If we like Brock Bowers, and you like Sam Laporta, and we still like George Kittle, and Travis Kelce's still there, and if you believe in Tyler Warren, and Colston Loveland, and Mark Andrews,
and Kyle Pitts,
right? Or Dalton Kincaid, or whoever. And even those, there's 7 guys that everybody's going, this guy has a potential to be tight end 1. That means if there's 7 guys, if there's 8 guys that could be tight end 1, someone's going to be tight end 8. And if you're telling me I can sell a guy who could be tight end 8 at tight end 2 prices, I'm doing it all day. I do think Trey McBride is good, but I don't think he's always going to be tight end 2, where you can go get a TJ Hawkinson plus for Trey McBride. You can go get a Mark Andrews plus a first round pick next year for Trey McBride. You're just, the value on him is right there, and he's probably not going to repeat. The tight end position has been so wonky, right? We've had Kelsey. Now it's up in the air. I'm just selling on that kind of value right now.
So you're telling me there's a guy at one of my dynasty leagues that's been trying to get Bowers from me. He's also a McBride owner. And I've been telling him, dude, unless it's McBride plus, you're probably not going to get Bowers. So he should be overpaying me for Bowers, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because I think Bowers is locked in as a top 5 guy, whereas McBride could easily finish as tight end 8 this year. Now, I think he's tight end 6, 7, right? I'm not a believer in Warren or Loveland being there. I have Bowers, Kittle, Kelsey, Hawkinson, Laporta, McBride, Andrews as my top 7 guys.
For Dynasty.
And they could all be, because Dynasty really the next 3 years, they could all interchange in the top 7 the next 3 years. And then you're going, I had a tight end 2 this year. Maybe he was tight end 2 last year. This year he's tight end 5. Next year he's tight end 6. The year after that he's tight end 3. Cool. If you can sell him consistently at tight end 2 value, do it.
Nice.
Crazy. I guess I look at him without injury. I believe he will finish top 3 this season. I only think there's 3 guys that can finish really up there. I think there's a huge tier break after those top 3. So I don't hate the idea, but I'd be willing to do it next year. I think you can still get value out of him. He just started his contract this offseason. So that heat that usually stays on that player, that'll still be there next year. Even if he falters to 5-ish, I think there's going to be an argument that he continues to be up there in that dominance conversation. So I would probably kick the tires next year when you have a little bit more identity on some of these deeper tight ends. Like we've talked about, so many tight ends got drafted this past year with second-round draft capital. So ones we're excited about, like Arroyo and Mason Taylor and Ferguson. So I'd get through this year with McBride and then check it out next year when you have a little bit more idea on some of those dart throws you'd like to throw on those players. But I don't hate jumping for value. Like you heard it on Garrett Wilson. That's like usually what I like to try and do.
Yep.
The Garrett Wilson one totally makes sense. As much as he'll have value this year, in my opinion, I think he'll have value because he's never been cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not. If he was going early in the second, like where Drake London and McConkey and who's the other one, Nico, where those guys are going, he's probably not worth it. But where he's going in the 3rd round this year for redraft, I'm probably taking some Garrett Wilson this year. But the dynasty take is great because the Jet situation is just, when is that ever going to get good? Like there's no light at the end of the tunnel unless Justin Fields somehow stays healthy, number one, and takes a step forward as a quarterback. So, and I love Justin Fields, but like you said, Dustin, the long term, what's the word I'm looking for?
Outlook,
yes, the long term outlook for him in the New York Jets offense. Especially if they're talking about moving on from Breece Hall, like that's it doesn't look good. So
no, I agree.
Punting Wilson shares right now might be the best. I love that take. So I'll mention next week's episode. Actually, we might not have a next week's episode. Bob Lung reached out to me and JC and Iggy today. We got a booth, so he wants us to come on the show. And I'm not sure if it's going to be Monday or Tuesday night, so I'm leaving Tuesday night open right now. But Sunday night, we do have our second bonus poker episode coming up. It's going to be with Drew Davenport, the conductor of the poker tournament at the Expo, and Ronnie Evans, TSA's own Ronnie Evans, last year's poker tournament winner. So we're gonna talk about the poker tournament event at the Expo, and we're also gonna get into a little bit of fantasy football talk. We're gonna mix it up. We're gonna do both for this episode. I'm looking forward to that. And Thursday night, I believe we have Pierre Wilson. I believe that's his name, Pierre Wilson, on Thursday Checkdown with me and Rick. And tomorrow night, Kyle has got her Game Changers. I'm not 100% sure on the guest, but, her usual 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time Game Changers show. Always a great guest, always a great interview. And that's pretty much it. You guys have anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
No, I appreciate you having me on. This was a good time.
Tell the people where they can find you one more time. Remind them. In case they tuned in late.
It's at @too_much_Brian on Twitter, @too_much_Brian on Reddit and everything else. I am on the Fantasy Football Advice Network, Too Much Fantasy Football, and then on the our YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, you can find all my stuff at the Fantasy Sports Advice Network, FSAN.com. And find me on Twitter, the DUnit13. Thanks for having me on, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. This was great. Glad you guys came on. Brian, was a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, right back at you.
Thank you, everybody in the chat. Hit the like button on YouTube. If you're listening on X, go over to YouTube. Hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the Sports Affiliation, subscribe. We got... hold on. Okay. we have some cool stuff coming up. We got a couple of new people joining the team. We'll announce in the future. In a couple of weeks, maybe at the expo. We got some new shows on hand, and we get some big stuff planned. So definitely want to be tuning in. Looking forward to helping out this channel and growing myself and growing the channel and doing the best we can going into the 2025 football season. Hopefully we can help you win some fantasy football leagues.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And that's it. So we're going to get out of here. Dustin, thank you again. Brian, thank you again. Everybody, we'll see you all next time.